Hi, it's me. Yes, I am back with episode 3. As told by a widow, sharing my advice, experiences as a single parent, as a wife, and now as a widow. So, in this particular episode, I want to talk about that transition. And transition is moving into something else. All right. Now, don't get it mixed up with transforming, which means a change, a chemical or biological reaction, physical reaction has changed or something. This is about the transition process from singlehood, whether be it a single person, single parent, as the vantage point that I'm using, and also as a widow that's looking to engage into a relationship after the transitioning of a spouse. So that's the, I guess you would say, key word, key element to this particular episode is transitioning. That process of moving into a higher form of commitment, be it marriage, a special person in your life, or deciding to engage in a life partnership agreement. There are so many labels out here now, you know. So that's where I want to, kind of give you share my experiences in transitioning, and also some of my challenges now as a widow, and as I contemplate moving into a higher level of commitment. Okay, so just to back up, as a widow, that I'm back into that transitioning stage. Although I'm not dating, but I can touch on some things that I find a little bit interesting, if anything else, at this point, contemplating, dating and transitioning, into a higher level of commitment at this point. So let's get started. But, let's back up, because I've noticed through some of the comments, which is not a lot, but how should I put this? The motivation behind this particular series is to let people know that, one, where I am now in my grief journey is beautiful. And it's that way because I am intentional on my joy. I am intentional on finding, discovering, and rediscovering my joy as a widow. All right. I'm not closed off for love. I am not closed off to love. And yet, I'm not desperate for love. You follow me? And that is very important, whether you're a single parent, widow, widower. All right. You want to be open for commitment and love, but you do not want to be hungry for it and dire stress for love or higher levels of commitment. All right. Because what happens, we fall deeply in love with what we want to see and want to feel. Okay. And in the process, we can overlook or just plain or just it goes over us, potential and sometimes very difficult challenges that are just right there in your face and can wreak a little havoc, make it time consuming to fix. Because remember now, any and everything can be fixed if you're willing to do it, And sometimes, it can end in just, walking away from a situation or person or both. So, with that premise been set and said and understood and understood, okay? And I made a short too, just to go back to what I just said. You don't want to be hungry or over in desperate need for love, all right? Because you want to choose the person that loves you, all right? For me, that's very important because I've been in situations where I really want to be with someone, but however, this person we weren't mixing, so it became very challenging because I was ready and willing to do whatever it takes to make the commitment work and move forward. However, they were not. So it's like I was constantly giving and there was no reciprocity. And if there was, it was a compromise on their part. Remember that word compromise from my first video? So the relationship had become fair. You remember the word fair? So when he wasn't nice to me, I wouldn't be nice to him. When he was nice to me, then I was nice to him. And that created a very unhealthy relationship. Okay? So you want to make sure that you are in love with yourself, that you are fulfilled. Okay? Before you even contemplate getting into any relationship that calls, just any form of high level of commitment, like I said, marriage, all those other labels that I just mentioned. All right? Because you want to choose the one that loves you, because they will put you first. You will be their priority. And I can't say it enough. When you're somebody, it's a beautiful experience because they're going to do what it takes to make you happy. All right. So, and I experienced that with my husband. I was his somebody, and he was definitely my somebody. He had become my somebody. And now that I think of it, Prince had a song titled, what was it? Somebody. I think it's called Somebody's Somebody. Something like that. Listen to the lyrics. Okay? But anyway, that was in the 80s, I think. Yeah, late 80s, something like that. But anyway, let's move into this episode. So I have a couple of notes because I'm trying to stay within the timeline. Transitioning from singlehood, widowhood, or widowerhood, into higher levels of commitment. All right. For me, one of the obstacles or challenges, right? I'll start with that. then I'll share with you my solution. Was when I met my husband, like I mentioned, I was a single parent, doing actually very well. It was myself and my daughter. Um, we were living an amazing life, you know. Um, so I was used to paying my own bills. I was used to, you know, vacationing alone, you know, or taking my daughter to places like Disney World, you know, just doing things on my own, putting gas in my car, um, you know, open the door for myself, making sure the maintenance on my car was taken care of, um, you know, things of that nature, paying my bills and everyday living, right? And so I meet my husband, and he wants to introduce me to chivalry. I was like, okay. Although he didn't say that, his actions showed that, right? And it was a difficult transition. Just case in point, right? For example, real life experience. I recall once when we were leaving, we were dating at this point. And you know how you get out the car? Say I've got myself, you know, I got out the car on my side, I'm walking around, and still just totally unaware. We just dating, we're going out. So I'm walking in the parking lot to the entrance. So, and I'm like, okay, what is taking him so long? Why is he 2 steps behind me, right? But I was on the outside of us, right? Kind of like ahead of him. And so he kind of like that, cleared his throat. So I looked back, I was like, still unaware, just all this is going over my head. So he kind of, you know, speeds up. And so he kind of like gestures to stand where he's on the outer side. So I'm still unaware of what he's doing, right? So we as we walk on, still unaware. So he reaches, you know, kind of like grabs my hand, like we want to walk. You know that what they call public display of affection. Not at that time, not really one of my things, right? But you know, at this point we were dating. I said, "Oh, okay." But honestly, I'm gonna tell you that was not a public display. Excuse me, of affection. That was him slowing me down and letting me know, like, hey, let's walk together, you know. And this is in hindsight now, as I tell you this. But so we get to the door. So I reached for, oh, I kid you not. So I reached for the door. We were at, I think it was Longhorns. So I reached to open the door, and he reached, and so now you know both doors are open. And I'm still not thinking, so I was like, okay, we both walk in together. And of course, you know, the little, what do you call maitre d' or whatever, they open the interior doors. So we go sit down, and so I sit at our table. And so we, you know, through dating, that's where communication comes in at. Um, we talked and we communicated, and we, as we learn more about each other. And one thing, let me add this too. Early on in our relationship, and when I say relationship, when we were dating, He always wanted to meet in a neutral space. Although he had his own car, a very nice apartment, a gated community. Oh my goodness! I mean, my husband was doing well for himself, and it was never like, "Hey, you can meet me at my apartment," or "I forgot my wallet. Can we go to my apartment?" Mm-mm. If he forgot something, he'll probably say something like, "Hey, go ahead and go to the restaurant. Give me a few minutes. I need to run back to my place." Something like that. He always believed in meeting in a neutral space. Always. He didn't want to go back to my apartment, and he never suggested his. You follow me? And I was, I felt like that was the most beautiful and honorable thing, because it was not that he was hiding anything or anyone, and because I would joke with her from time to time. I was like, "Oh, you don't want to see your friend you're hiding," and he was like, "Nah." He was like, "When it's time for us to kind of go to visit this, each other personal spaces, I'm sure we'll do that." I was like, he was very practical, y'all. He really was. And such a respectful person. He really was. I mean, when you say romantic, and I know romanticism can be subjective, but for me, he was so practical and respectful. And see, those are strong forms of romance for me, you know. And so, but anyway, we were at dinner once because I had done this quite a few times where he felt like he needed to bring this to my attention, as far as like, walking on the outside, when we're or walking ahead of him and things like that. And so I remember him saying, it, I think it was something like, chivalry isn't dead. And I was like, chivalry? I was like, that's one of those old English words. And this was before Google, of course. And I was just like, oh, I remember chivalry. And, and I was like, oh. He was like, yeah. I was like, oh, I have to look into that. He was like, you don't have to look into it. He was like, all you have to do is just accept it from me. I was like, oh, okay. And although I was like elated, but still, because I had been single for so long and ahead and the head of my household, it was challenging, you know, and I had to let him know, like, I really would love to experience this with you, this form of chivalry, or just form of respect, from you. But just, kind of be patient with me. He was like, oh, yeah. And he said, not a problem. Because I didn't want him to feel like I was being disrespectful or disregarding, you know, um, his form of, uh, what do you call it? I have the word. It's like, I want to say it. His form of kindness towards me. Okay. His form of high sentiment for value for me, So how do we get beyond that? How did I do that? Because there were plenty of times where, for example, I remember, um, one day, at this point, we were still dating, and had conversations of possibly taking our relationship to a higher level. Not quite marriage, but we're at a point now. I've been to his home, his home. He's been to mine, and I was at my mother's, and he comes by, and he was like, "Oh, I noticed your car needs to be washed." He said, "Give me your keys, and I'll take it to the local car wash, and I'll, wash your car." And I was like, "Yes, here, So of course I gave him the keys, and he left his truck, at my mom's. So time went on, I'm hanging with my mom. She had cooked and everything. It was, I remember the weather being warm, but I don't think it was summertime yet. But anyway, I'm like, what is going on? It's been over an hour. I know it doesn't take that long to wash somebody's car. So I tried calling him, and he didn't pick up his cell phone. So I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, I know he didn't steal my car because his truck was brand new. And my car wasn't nowhere near it. It was nice, but his was newer and nicer. So I was like, so I'm thinking all types of things, right? And so he pulls it up. He comes back. And I was like, dude, what happened? Like, you want to go pick up some lady in my car? So he was like, you're being funny, right? Just like that. Because it was like a kind of like sarcasm, but maybe not, depending on what he said. And so he just smiled, and then he gives me this like envelope, like with all this. Anyway, he had taken my car to, I think it was Midas, right? And got me all my brakes and pads replaced. Okay, I was gonna you can hear my brakes, okay, but they had just started squeaking, to my defense, okay, because I stayed on top of my stuff. They had literally just started squeaking, okay, and in other words, I had it on the list to get it taken care of. I promise you, I did. And so I look at the receipt and the little contract, the warranty. Here, I got the warranty. And he had two of my tires, put two new tires on my car. I didn't ask him to do that, y'all. He just did it. And like I said, we hadn't talked marriage. We just got to a point where we felt comfortable enough to go hang out at each other's place of residence. And I was like, wow. And he washed my car too. So I remember I felt some type of way about that. And then I remember this is when I had to sit with myself after he did this great thing for me. He didn't ask for any payback of in any form. He asked for zero retribution. I mean, never. He asked for zero form of repayment. He didn't ask for anything for it. He wanted to do this thing for me, and he did it. So I remember, now I'm going back to my place and I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, I like this, right? But this is where, self-sabotage began to sink in on me. I'm a single parent, and I was like, I hope he didn't think that I couldn't afford it, because I could have. They just started. My brakes just started squeaking like yesterday. I had on a list to go drop it off on my lunch break. You know, that's me trying to create something that's not there. At that point, I was so attached to relationships not fulfilling me or getting to the next level or to the level that I needed, or most of the time that I wanted. See, that one-sidedness of relationships. And that's me constantly getting to relationships where there was no reciprocity. Hold on 1 second. I'm back. So when I sat with myself, it was like I'm sitting there trying to justify, why did I put myself in a position for this person to do this for me? I had the money. So what was wrong? Why didn't you just get it done when you first heard it? Instead of just accepting kindness. You follow me? And then also I was like, let me make sure that I have some form of recourse with, just in case he asked for his money back. I did. But I had to learn how to have faith. But I will tell you this, I kept a couple of, I think he paid over $1,000. I kept a little extra over just in case. Follow me? I'm just being honest. I never had to use it though. So, because we're going to continue to move forward and link as much as the previous episodes into this as we finalize this series. So as we continue to progress in our relationship, and as I continue to, I guess, be more accepting of help, transitioning into a relationship where there's equality, right? Where things where fairness and compromise did not exist, where everything was equitable, where there was grace. Some days I showed up to the relationship and I couldn't give anything. Emotionally, I was just like, I just can't right now. There's days, I can recall, he would call it, hey, you want to come over? I'll cook dinner, or we can go out to dinner and go to a movie, or we can pick up a movie and watch it at my house. Something like that. And some days I was like, no, And I could do that for like 2-3 days consecutively. And he'll reach out, are you okay? Is there anything I could assist you with? I'm like, no. Why? Why was I behaving like that? Self-sabotaging. All right. So when you're transitioning, you want to make sure that you are, one, emotionally mature, where communication is key. All right. Where you are communicating very clearly your feelings and your expectations. I mean, that's both of you. All right. And that was one of the solutions, alternative to compromise, remember. So transitioning from singlehood and widowship have those same elements that is required. All right. Clear communication, open to love. All right. But first, love yourself as much as you can before you go try loving somebody else. And thirdly, go with the one that loves you. All right. And to my widows and widowers, this is just a reminder. All right. Now, the other thing about transitioning, and I'm going to kind of key in on my widows and widowers on this one. And that is, we spoke about it, survivor's remorse. So this is just a reminder. You are deserving of love, and your spouse would want you to continue in a healthy and positive future where you are sharing your life with someone or a community that give you the love that you deserve. All right. So you're not hurting your transition spouse or partner or special persons in any form by moving forward into another loving and divine relationship. Okay. All right. Now, let's see what else about transitioning. And let me think of another example. I wrote those two down mainly just to keep the video as short as possible. So, but if I come up with any more, I'll come back and put it in the description. But so it's out there. Transitioning from singlehood from widowhood or widowerhood into higher levels of commitment is beautiful and it's wonderful, and you are deserving of it. But remember, love yourself first. Be kind to yourself first. All right. And also remember, my mom used to say, do not go to the grocery store hungry, because you end up picking up stuff you don't even eat. It just look good, right? In the moment, all right? So don't do that when it comes to, dating or choosing someone for a high level of commitment, all right? And definitely do not allow external factors to be a stimuli. You follow me? Because that means you'll react, because you have a choice. And that's what I'm here for. I want to share my experiences and let you know I had choices. And to also let you know that I made some good ones and I made some not so good ones. And it's like, although I'm paraphrasing, my not so good choices, there's so little to mention. Frank Sinatra says, I have regrets, but there's so little to mention. Right? Oh, blue eyes. So, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed this series. I know I have. And it was a refresher course for me as a widow. And it makes me excited about life. Now I'm already excited about life at this point. I always have been, but with my husband, like I said, the first 3 years of grief, I had to find it again. And I didn't just find it. It just, like, I'm on, I guess, overload. It's not even overload. It's just like, I don't know. I'm just super excited about life, you guys. And I want you to get excited about life. I even got a video about getting excited about something. Watch that, okay? And, I'm going over. So, be blessed. And remember, you are deserving of all things that belongs to you. And one of them is joy, happiness, good health, harmony. All right. Peace. Love you guys.